Here we are, bottom of the Smash Mountain. I would like to thank my supporters over at patreon.com/bsmpod for continuing to support me in what I'm doing. Today, we have a very special guest, someone who has put in a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the TOing veins over at Northwestern Ohio, but has also done some really amazing things otherwise, and we're going to get into all of that here with the dewstr. Ryan Dewey, Mountain Dew, however you want to go about it. But we finally got you on after your amazing retirement twit longer of backing away from TOing, sidelining yourself, if you will. You're on. You're finally here. We have a mutual in JDMH. We should probably start there. But first of all, how are you doing?
I am doing pretty darn good. Happy to be here. Happy to, be interviewed, talk about a bit about Northwest Ohio and my history, and talk Smash for a little bit. How are you doing, Cypher?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And I want to know, why do you have to ride JDMH everywhere?
JD, it doesn't have a car and is still working on his license. I actually have been meaning to get around to getting over
what is
getting over
on
to
your
him to
licensing?
taking him on
You
a
just
drive.
take a test. Dude.
In the state of Ohio, you have to take your written test to get your temps, and then you have to take a driver's test, like a whole behind the wheel drive around, prove to the funny person that's sitting in your passenger seat at the time that you know how to drive, and then they give you your license.
Yeah, that's
He's
how it works
passed
in PA too.
the written test part. Yeah, he's passed the written part. He just needs to do the driving part, and so ever since JD kind of got reactive in the scene again, I've kind of been his ride. So it's always been kind of a bit, because if this is, Northwest Ohio, I live here, he lives here. I have to drive all the way across town to go get him, but he's a good kid and he's worth it. So
I love JDMH. We're all big fan. JD is a friend of the program. I think I've had him on at least 2 times, if not 3. So when I was getting started in January of this year, around that time when I was getting started and starting to put onto Twitter, blah, 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 I think it was because of the Wannabes podcast and me starting to mix in a little bit there. JD found me and was like, oh, good for you. And I said, will you come on? And that was fun. So
yeah, JD's so cool. The community and our production value, and really just the overall value of the scene, would not be anywhere near what it is without his talent.
Oh, he was such a hard worker for putting together the things that he wants to, and he has a really great creative mind for like stream stuff. I mean, I think JD's gonna end up being that person that everybody getting into Melee is sort of inspired by, if they want to go in that direction, right? If you are inspired by Ludwig to become a streamer, right, or if you're inspired by Mango to play and be the best in the world, maybe JD, I mean, as of now, can kind of be that person that people say, wow, I want to do sick art stuff and make Melee cooler that way. That would be cool.
Yeah, he kind of, I guess in a way, he has became that person, because, I mean, his experience with Blender and all those 3D assets, I mean, he made the trailer for the Panda controller.
Yeah.
Like, the way that he's getting to watch him grow, I guess is kind of what I'm getting at, has been such an amazing journey, where he was originally, he just kind of came in and he was like, this sophomore in high school that was,
still can't drive himself.
Yeah, he's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed is what I'm trying to say. And watching him grow from the sophomore that was just super duper interested in Melee and kind of messed around with Blender and 3D modeling, into somebody who literally does this professionally for a world-class esports team, has been incredible to watch. Somebody that's from a region as, I guess, small as Northwest Ohio, with that, just seeing him grow into that has been incredible, to say the least.
And so we're already getting, for me and the people who are getting to know you, the audience that I have, it's okay. We're not the Radio Melee podcast with Toph and PPMD. We're not rising with those numbers just yet, but I'm already getting that impression that I get from a lot of TOs, where they have a really good ability to sort of look at a person and find out what they're going to ultimately have the most, well, I don't want to say like it's not as an asset, but you're going to really like this specific thing. You're going to like this specific niche. this is something that you're going to be able to get into, and I would like to help you get there. I want to
Yeah.
give you an opportunity to get there, because JD doesn't go from messing around with Blender to immediately working with Panda and making,
Yeah.
yes, that trailer, especially he talked about this on Twitter. He posted about this on Twitter, where the controller splits into all those different parts.
He was so proud of that. He
And
was
he
so
did
proud of
that,
that.
dude. But you're one of the people who saw him and thought, maybe not about the Panda controller so many years from now, but you thought he might get there, and I want to give him an opportunity to get there. So for you, when you first got into Melee, would you say that you already had that part of your personality where you would want to see other people succeed, in sort of that personality of, I like seeing other people succeed, it makes me happy to help other people? Or would you say that grew as you grew into Melee?
I would say off the rip, I mean, I like to think that I would have been the kind of person when I first joined into the community to want to see people succeed. I always, I guess not to toot my own horn, and this is probably a little conceited, but I always like to be that resource to help others grow. And if there's anything that I can do, I'll give somebody the shirt off my back to if it's going to let them grow and succeed and become something that they want to be, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get there. So in JD's case, JD was a huge computer nerd, and it kind of worked out because both him and I love computers. We're both, geeks. We talk about computer specs. We talk about, production stuff constantly because that's just something we're both into. Um, I wanted to see him succeed in that because I knew it was something that he was interested in. And at the time, we were at a comic book shop for our venue. We were running an event. Me and Shy Dude, who's the other tournament organizer in the region, we were running an event called Super SD World, and JD had shown an interest in running stream stuff and doing production. And while I was sort of doing the streaming for Ultimate at the time, or well, Smash 4 technically, but Ultimate later on, he picked up doing Melee VODs and kind of, ran all of that with making the overlays, running the stream, processing up the VODs, cutting them up, all that good stuff. He just, you know, took the reins and ran with them. And I think that and then wanting to create the assets was what really, I guess, started him off in that whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I think mostly like watching him grow has maybe caused me to grow into more of a wanting to see people succeed, especially in this community, because I watched a success story with him. So
It helps to get a good rep
sort of,
in.
yeah, yeah. So to start, I think I was already like that, but I think I'm more so since I've been part of the region.
That makes sense. Okay, you mentioned Smash 4, so we'll talk about this now before we move on. But what's about this watching Smash 4 Grand Finals in the back of a car?
So this is before Super SD World, or I'm sorry, SD World Tour is what it was. I'm getting my tournament names mixed up. This was a event that we had at another comic book shop, uh, sort of in between Super SDs, called Smash Smash City, Smash City, and I don't know what happened. Obviously, I'm not going to name and drop the comic book shop, but we paid uh however much money it was at the time so that we could have the venue until 10. Normally our tournaments would start at 7, we'd be out of there by 10, all would be said and done. One day the venue owner comes up to us like middle of grand finals and he's like, you guys got to get out. And we're like, we all look and it's like 9:30 and we're like, no, we have the venue till 10. And they're like, he's like, no, like we're going home, you guys got to get out. And we're like, okay. So one of the other kids in the community, sorry about my cat, one of the other
No,
kids
that's
in the
okay.
community.
Please introduce the cat. I've been wanting to
Oh,
ask, but I'm, to the flow of the interview is to not cut you off and be like, "What's the cat's name?"
there's two of them. This one's Jill. She's one of my roommates' cats, and she doesn't love so much being pet, she loves petting. And so she keeps like swiping at the mic and pushing herself up against me because she just wants to pet me, and I'm trying to not let her hit or touch anything. Uh, nope, that's it's Jill.
Hi, Jill. I know she can't
She
hear
is
me, but
purring like a mo. She's purring like a locomotive right now.
Oh.
So, so when was I telling?
You were
So,
talking
so they
about
kick
being
us out.
kicked out of the
Yeah,
venue at 9:30. At 9:30, 30 whole minutes.
yeah. So 30 whole minutes, which I guess to a venue owner that doesn't really get it isn't a big deal. But like we were right in the middle of Grands. Like we would have been
Grand
done
finals.
had we gotten another 10 minutes, it would have been over. One of the other kids at the time, his tag now is Boki. It used to be Fizz. He had been talking about having a mobile Smash setup, and this is obviously in the days of Smash 4, before the Switch was so versatile as to let you play in front of a TV and then pick your console up and then go wherever and play it, handheld. I had this converter that would convert electricity from my car's electrical outlet, a little, car converter, cigarette lighter type thing, to like regular AC DC jacks.
Yeah.
And you would just plug it in, and then you could like plug a monitor in, plug like a laptop in to charge it, plug your phone in. Well, we had a mobile Smash 4 setup where we had a monitor and a Wii U connected to that. And we're all like sitting there like freaking out, like we're like, how are we gonna finish these grand finals if we can't like play them here? And then somebody goes, doesn't Ryan have like a mobile Smash setup in his car? And so we hook up a monitor and a Wii U up to my running car. It's like 40 degrees outside. It's cold as hell. Um, and I can't keep the monitor balanced, so I have to bungee cord it. I have to raise the headrests on my front seats and bungee cord the monitor so it wouldn't fall forward. And they played their grand final set out. It was Citrus and Psycho played their grand final set out. I think it was Fox and Olimar in the backseat of my car, and there is a 10-minute long, 15-minute long video. Like 8 minutes of it is just somebody like recording around talking about how ridiculous it is, and then the last like 7 minutes is actually, it wasn't even 7 minutes. I think it was like 3 or 4 was the actual set, and I think Psycho won, and that was the epitome of Northwest Ohio. If there's ever a video that if somebody ever walks up to me and goes, how would you describe Northwest Ohio in a video? I think I would send them that VOD, because there's just truly nothing more Northwest Ohio or more the Smash or FGC community than doing whatever it takes to finish a grand final set.
That's awesome. And it resonates with me because when I first started out doing this podcast, I would podcast in my car. I lived in a different spot than I do now. I have a wife and 2 kids. So I could not get far enough away from them to be able to podcast without, keeping them up and all that.
Yeah.
So I would go out to my car. I did it out my car with my phone and my Apple headphones. So it grew, I'm in a place now where I can, for the most part, podcast peacefully and have a camera and all that stuff. But that is, like you said, about the most smasher thing that you could talk about, and it trumps a lot of different people's venue shenanigans, because most of the time they'll just go to another person's house or do something like that. But no, we're going to settle this right now. We're going to go to Ryan's car. That's awesome.
I still, that's the car that I currently drive too. It was, sometimes I look in that back seat and I'm like, wow, we really did a grand final set back there.
Smash history.
If I could pull up the video, I could probably pull up the video now. It was just, I mean, I don't know, you've probably seen it.
No,
but,
actually, I did not. So I asked JD for some questions to ask you, and that is about the most research that I did, because I'd like to do some. I think some people give me too much credit. I don't do a Sean Evans full dive most of the time, but I knew that I had to ask JD. Just give me a something, a little pointer. He said Smash Finals, back of a car. I said, okay.
Okay, so I was exaggerating a little bit. The video is about 6 minutes, 45 seconds, but to kind of give you an awful video synopsis, this is sort of the gist of the entire video. You can like see the top of my car, the antenna. This is being recorded through like the back window. I mean, they played the whole thing out like it was literally just in the back of my car.
For those who are listening to the podcast, you're missing out. But I'll link. You know what? You just send me a link to that. I will link in the description of the podcast with all your social stuff. So
for
That's
sure.
that's how people can check it out if
Yeah,
they
I
want
know.
to watch along. Oh, look here,
It's
I'm in there
yeah,
too. I'm
that's
reflecting
they're
off the
they're
screen.
oh yeah, yeah, look at that.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it was I'm trying to see if there's I think there's video of them like getting out of my car too, and it was yeah, yeah, it looks like okay, so no, Psycho was playing Mario. But either way, it was the most Northwest Ohio thing to ever happen. I think the biggest thing that I remember getting out of it was I posted it to like the Smash Reddit, the Ultimate Reddit, or Smash 4 Reddit at the time, and somebody replied with a image of the cast of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I think is what it's called.
Something
And
like that. Yeah.
we were Danny DeVito.
Oh no. Oh
And I
no.
looked at it and I went, "That's probably the most true shit I've ever seen."
I don't. Okay, you know what? There is a certain amount of specialness that you can derive from saying, "Hey, we are the Danny DeVito of Smash in the United States."
We've always Northwest Ohio has always considered themselves like the meme region of Ohio. We know we're weird and we embrace it, and I think that's what makes us unique.
I don't know how much Northwest Ohio has to do with this, but when Flash beat Ginger at Riptide and Ginger was getting a little salty at all the Ohio attendees, kind of heckling a little bit, all that stuff, I think that gave me a really good snapshot of what the Midwest rivalry looks like. That there's a certain amount of rivalry between Ohio and Michigan, Ohio and Indiana, Ohio, Illinois. I'm sure that
Oh yeah,
there's
there is.
other storylines there, but
Yeah.
what would be your favorite rivalry if you want to call it that? Because you've probably at least had people asking you about doing crew battles between regions or crew battles between two crews or what have you. People come up to you, I'm sure, and they're like, "Yo, dewstr, can we do doubles?" No, hear me out. Doubles. And you go, "Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. Sure. Sure. You
I
have a
mean,
bigger venue for that?"
that I anybody that knows me knows that I love doing anything that we can do that's fun for the community. Crew battles, doubles, squad strike. If we can if it can be turned into a bracket and we can fit it within our time, we'll run it. Like we ran Nick for a while. We had P plus, obviously, we did Melee, we had Ultimate, we had Smash 4. At one point or another we were doing I guess this isn't really about, rivalries and stuff, but to kind of get on a tangent about, just running events. When we had a event called Synthwave, well, it started as Synthwave, turned into Synthwave X. And another person that does FGC organizing in the region, his name's Kenstar. He had these things called mystery brackets that I'm pretty sure he picked up off of Combo Breaker. And if you could turn it remotely competitive, he turned it competitive. There's a couple brackets that stick out in my mind that we had. One was Tekken 7 bowling. It sticks out in my mind because I remember having the biggest pop off at the end when I got a turkey. And
Ooh.
yeah, it because I ended up winning the bracket. And the other one that sticks out in my mind is the very last Synthwave X we had. We had a Beyblade tournament
What now?
and a Beyblade, like a
Beyblade.
Beyblade, let it rip. Okay, sorry, three things that stick out in my mind. Those two, and then the next most iconic mystery bracket we ever did was a tournament where it was kid picks. You had to draw something based on criteria that the judges gave, and then the judges would vote. And there was that was probably the most hectic, but one of the most memorable mystery brackets we've ever done. Was
But
was
grand
that
finals was best of 5, right?
grand finals for those? Sometimes it depended on how long it took.
I seriously am just kidding. You're fine. You don't have to answer it like that if you don't want to.
I mean, it did. If we could do a best of five, we did a best of five. Sometimes it was best of one. Sometimes it was best of three. Sometimes it was crowd cheering. Sometimes it was judging. It just depended on how much time we had and how reasonable voting was.
That sounds like a lot of fun, though. I don't think that 717 Melee, Lancaster County, and surrounding counties, We call ourselves Central PA, which is the most annoying thing because we're not in State College. That's the true center of the state. We're Eastern, not quite Philly, but Eastern enough. And the point in saying all that is we just do Melee, mostly Strive as well. We have some people in Strive and 717 that come out and play at the local, but we haven't done a doubles bracket. It probably will be a while before we even think about doing that. And I don't think that doing mystery brackets or trying to do Nick or certainly not Ultimate. If there's Ultimate happening, I don't know of it happening in Lancaster County anyway. But it sounds like there's quite a lot of creativity that flows through the veins of yourself and the community out there in Northwestern Ohio. That's really, really cool. Like doing I would say like more unique stuff as compared to saying we're just running Melee and Ultimate. So if that's not you, then don't bother showing up.
I think that's the other thing about, me running events and the people that run events in the region. A lot of us, really all of us, we do it, for competitive because it's fun. You come out to a tournament, you make friends. The biggest reason that I ran events or I enjoyed running events or had pride in it is because when I would run events the way that I did, my point wasn't exclusively to have a competitive environment. My point was so that if somebody, I guess I'm trying to figure out how the best way to word this is. I worded a different way to everybody, and I don't know why. I just wanted to provide people a place to go if they didn't have anywhere else to go. Because in joining the scene, when I initially joined, it was kind of that for me, where I was in like a really dark time in my life, and coming to the community and joining the scene and coming to events gave me something to look forward to every week when everything else seemed bleak. So that was kind of what I wanted to provide for others, and I didn't want to make it just, Smash, so like it seemed like only come out if you played Ultimate or Melee or Strive or Street Fighter or insert game here. It was more of a, come out and hang out, make some friends, meet people that maybe you wouldn't have met otherwise, and who knows? I mean, the guy that I live with right now, I never would have known him had it not been for the community, and him and I are like inseparable friends. And I'm JD. I wouldn't have known JD without the community. I wouldn't have known the people that I ran FGC with. I wouldn't have known Shy Dude. I wouldn't have known MB Smash. I wouldn't have met any of these people had I not came out to an event a couple times and joined the community. And I want that for Smash, I guess is and FGC really is how I'd say it, that I want it to be open to anybody, no matter what your skill level is, to be able to come and feel like you belong.
That's a beautiful thing. I love hearing stuff like that. And through a TO's perspective, you're sort of going to leak down that mindset in its own small way to the people who attend. They get that vibe. So that sounds really, really cool. Would you say that there are events that you can look back to where you felt like that was achieved in a, not in like, it's not because everybody in the venue after the tournament was over came up to you and said, this was the most welcoming and friendly vibe tournament I've ever been to. So yes, good job on this one. Like, not necessarily because of that, but just because of your own experience around it.
I think a lot of the synthwaves were like that, just because it wasn't so much of like, obviously, like you said, people walking up and going, I felt so welcome. More so was it mystery brackets where, we'd have people in Smash and people in FGC, where people generally tend to see those two communities as water and oil, where they don't really intermingle otherwise. You see, two guys that are a Smash player and an FGC player, like a Smash player and a Melty player, and they're playing racing with Ryan and trying to beat the other one out in a tournament, and then you see, that's over, and then you see him hug it out because, I mean, good games, right? Anytime I'd see something like that, I would really feel like I had something going. Anytime I'd get somebody that would just, I had a lot of people that would just come out to hang out. They didn't want to like enter anything. They just wanted to like be there and chill and hang out with their friends. Anytime I saw that, and I guess I saw them leave with a smile on their face, or I saw them laughing, I kind of felt that. On Twitter, I try to get everybody that comes out to an event, I try to get their Twitter, I try to get their pronouns, I try to get all the information on them so we have it in case, we ever need it for anything, like if they enter something so we can put it on a bracket, or not a bracket, a graphic, for example. uh if I happen to follow them on Twitter, I see, hey, Synthwave was really cool this week, or Super SD World, or SD World Tour, or you know this event that I went to that dewstr and maybe Shy Dude, or maybe Lion, or maybe JD, or maybe Punchy, uh, that they ran was really cool, and I'm happy that I was a part of it and I got to go because, you know, I placed well. I got to see friends that I haven't seen in a long time. I had a lot of fun. I felt like I belonged. I've seen where, people have messaged me and said, hey, your tournament, or the Northwest Ohio region is the region, they're the reason that I keep going, because it's the only thing I have to look forward to in a week. I have a hard family life. Like, it's anytime I see something like that is when I feel like I've really cultivated, or I've at least contributed to helping somebody else, I guess, is the best way to say it. And help somebody feel like they belong is where I'm really going with it.
I think this is what a lot of people who are outside of video games, or even outside of a certain realm of video games, may not necessarily understand. That they're not understanding that it's not just about sitting down and playing with somebody. It's also about, like you said, there's an environment and a social gathering of people where I can go to, where I feel like I'm welcomed and I can be myself. I can express myself, and not
Yeah.
trying to step on anybody's toes by doing that, but you get it. And I love hearing how, because it's a two-sided like possibility, where you're at like a certain fork in your life as you're growing and you're getting older, and you're discovering, oh, I have a personality and I have my own worldview about how things should go. dewstr, you could have been the person who had a lot of things in your life that were going the wrong way and were going poorly for you, and turned that around and put that out to the world, where it sounded like even from the very beginning, your idea was, I want to actually be the antithesis of where I'm coming from. I want to put good out there and make an environment that I would want to come to if I were, again, in that spot, coming out into the world and saying, is there anything that is like reasonably, like, I just need something that's like even neutral? Because I mean, from myself, I can't say that I came out from a like a bad family environment or anything like that, but from talking to people who have, it's like almost perpetually feeling unsafe, because you sleep in a place that you don't feel safe, and you have to go home there after being anywhere else. So at least making one bright spot, like a Smash event or an FGC event, that sounds really, really cool that you've been able to do that. So tell me, at the very beginning, when you started going to these events, how quickly did you pick up on, hey, I like coming here? Was it because, and did somebody drag you over, or how'd you get in?
So sorry, I keep looking over. I just tend to look over when I talk. But
no, you're fine. There are audio listeners too. They have no idea.
True. I didn't say anything. I don't look away. I'm looking right at the. So there is a childhood friend. I mean, literally, like, I've known this person. I don't remember not knowing this person. Azzy. They and I have been friends for, let's see, Azzy's 21. Holy shit. 21 years. Like I was like 2 at the time. I don't remember not knowing Azzy. And I noticed, at one point or another, I had already graduated at this point. I was working like 2 jobs, and I just noticed, oh, they're going to some event called Super SD World. Huh, wonder what that's about. And I clicked on the event, and it was like, oh, this is all about Smash Brothers. This seems kind of sick. And I was like, oh, well, I don't really have the time to go, because at that point, like I said, I was working at UPS at a bakery at the time. At some point, it got to be too much, and I dropped the UPS job. I was only working at the bakery, and all of a sudden, I had all this time. So,
woohoo! Because you have early hours at a bakery, right? I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah. I worked counter for a little while, and then they switched me to overnights because I had been awesome at staying up really late. Hence why I'm like, let's talk as long as you want. But so I had all this time on my hands, and one day Azzy goes, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Before that, to give some preface, there was in Northwest Ohio, there used to be these two events called Glass City Con and Tag Fest. And my first proper taste of the Smash community was at Tag Fest 2016, which took place in December of, well, 2016. And they had a Smash tournament at this. And I had actually met a couple of the kids who were in the Smash community there. And I entered my very first bracket at that event. It was a single elimination. And it was one of the only probably 12, 13 brackets I'd ever entered because I'm more TO than I do play. But one of the first like 13 or 14 brackets I'd ever entered. Single elimination, and it was randomly seeded, and they seeded me against this person has changed tags like 20 times. At the time of this happening, I think their tag was Hentai Dude. And now it's like Mama Shredder. They at the time they were like one of the best in the region. They still are, but there have been more faces that have came up since then. I got whooped. I went 0-2 like frame 1, like I was out of there. And that was my very first taste of the scene. But the reason I had been like, wow, this is kind of cool is I got knocked out round 1, and Azzy's still in. Azzy made it to, I think, grand finals against who at the time was TL Oreo, is now Miles, is a C-Bus player these days. And just seeing the excitement and the hype from this crowd of people watching this grand finals, that I was like, oh, this is Super Smash Brothers. It's a video game. What are you all like freaking out about? And that was my first taste, and that was where dewstr ended up becoming a thing at too, because at the time, my tag at that point was really long. It was Ryan the Shiba Inu, and I didn't want to type all that out. Yeah, I couldn't. It was too long anyway. I didn't really want to work with Ryan TSI, so I was like, oh, Azzy has me in their Snapchat as dewstr, so why don't I just use that tag? So I took up the tag dewstr, and then at some point, in like that January, I think it was like the first weekend, maybe the second weekend after Tag Fest, Azzy's like, well, let's hang out. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And they're like, hey, do you want to go to the Smash tournament? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'd love to see what it's all about, because I'd been reading out all about it on Facebook up to that point. And we went, and I had fun. I distinctly remember eating Magic Walk while watching everybody play Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U at the time. And I was like, oh, this seems cool. I think I'll come back. And for a few weeks after that, Azzy and I, and sometimes like other people like Money, or who was Easy Money at the time, I think I'm trying to remember a couple of the other tags. A lot of the people that were they were all kids from one of the local high schools. I can't remember half their tags because it's been so long since I've seen them. One I think was like Bully, Green. There were some other kids, but we would just do like weird out of pocket shit. Like one time it was Waifu Wednesdays, so we brought printed out pictures of random waifus like in like nice frames, and brought them with us, and they would like set the pictures next to the setup and play with the waifu right there. I think I wore a fedora to that tournament, and then
that's awesome.
And then there
tasteful frames, fedoras,
and then there was some other tournament that Azzy and I decided that we were just going to get cereal, and we brought like cereal, milk, we bought bowls, we bought spoons at the Walmart that was like just down the way from the venue, and we just pulled up and we were eating cereal, and people were like, "Are you eating cereal?" And we're like, "Yep." I don't know why that stands out.
Content machines, dude.
JD knows that. Yeah, no, it was just like I wish I had some of the pictures just up and ready. There was God, if you give me a minute, I could probably pull up the waifu picture. It was literally that. We just had waifus. And
so then by the middle of 2017, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty much just like I'm doing this. It's super fun. I'm going to all these events that I can go to. This is awesome. And so you keep looking for your Waifu Wednesday picture. I'm gonna lead you into the part where you say to yourself, I could run these. I could, ooh, I could run these. I could do this for myself. When do you start thinking that? Is it early on, or did it take a couple solid months to get there?
It wasn't more so that I decided that I was going to be able to run them. It was more that at one point or another, I had became friends with the guy that ran the events, Shy Dude, and Akiyoko, who owned the venue at the time. And like I said, I like to see people succeed, and I wanted to see, I wanted to do what I could to help the event succeed and the community succeed. And so I started kind of, jumping in and helping out where I could, whether that be by, calling a match or running a stream, which is actually where I got to be friends with Punchy. Um, it wasn't, it wasn't so much that I was like, oh, I can run this. It was more just I was like, well, let me just help out where I can. And then after a little while of doing that, Aki had officially put me on as one of the stream runners, and at that point, the rest is history. I just slowly kept getting more and more involved until it was me and Shy Dude running stuff.
Yeah, you're kind of like the Breaking Bad slow burn of just slowly becoming TO.
Yeah, I slowly infected the tournament with my contentery.
Nobody can get a better cook. Excuse me. Nobody can get a better cook than dewstr cooking up the next best and most amazing tournament that you could ever be a part of for Northwestern Ohio. Let's go. But I'm sure that there were some bumps and grooves along the way that you said to yourself, "Oh, yes, okay, so maybe not next time." Is there one that comes to mind?
There have been a couple of just bumps and bruises that we had. I can't find this picture. I'll send it to you if I find it. But trying to think of. I mean, there's been a number of them. I guess the one thing that I guess I'm most embarrassed about when it comes to like a bump or a bruise or a maybe I shouldn't have done that as a TO. For the longest time, we were looking to have a P plus, or well, I guess at the time technically PM scene, and I was excited for it. I was like super happy. I was like, oh, so gung ho about this. Like, we're gonna have a PM scene. People have been asking for this. This is gonna be so great. I'm so excited. And the first week we had 5 people. The second week we had 0 people. The third week we had 2 people. The fourth week, I was really, really angry because it died. And I think my biggest like 3 weeks later, I was like, shit, I shouldn't have done that. I made a very, very angry video about it and posted it and got a lot of people kind of upset because they were like, well, yeah, we can't go because we have to work, or we have this prior obligation, or something came up, like, we want this, but we can't go. And I think that was one of my biggest oopsies, and like one of my biggest, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that kind of things that I guess I sort of scared that away to start for synthwave. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that everything before that was peaches. There were plenty of bumps and bruises like before then. Yeah, I think that's the biggest one that I guess I'm comfortable talking about, just because there were a number of other ones, but it's stuff that I've kind of gotten past and made peace with since.
Right, sure. Well, when I ask those kind of questions, just so you know, you don't have to answer anything that I ask you. You could just be like,
no, that's
move on or whatever.
Like there's other stuff. Just I'm.
So you don't have to get into it. Let's
let's
take a pit stop. Let's talk about this video where you wanted to burn the world to the ground. There you had like a Joker moment there. You're like, all of a sudden, after being excited, trying to build hype around establishing PM again, because this is post 2015, right? So for the most part, to a national pleb who doesn't really go to tournaments, who kind of watches big grand finals of either Smash 4 or Melee every now and again, like they'll say, oh, Mother's Day Mango, but then they have no idea like what actually has been happening in the past couple of months within Melee or whatever, right? So
Hmm.
those people would say PM died at the end of 2015. PM never came back. And then weirdly, P
Yeah.
plus happened. I don't know what that's all about. That's what they would tell you. So for you, you know what had been happening in the past. People would have said to you, yeah, PM kind of like got shadow banned more or less. They couldn't really stream it on Twitch anymore. And the development team went underground. Was there a cease and
Hmm.
desist? Who knows? And so a lot of these players that you're talking about where they have like prior obligations, they can't show up every week, especially on a weeknight, those are probably the players who had been playing since around 2012, who were
Yeah.
like beyond high school age, beyond college age. And so I imagine it's you're like what, in towards the end of high school or something by then?
I was graduated high school by the time I joined the community. I was probably about 20 at the time.
Okay.
Really, I wouldn't say prideful in what I was doing,
Mhm.
but I had a lot of I had a lot of weight in this because I love PM. I love P plus. Like
Yeah.
I think it's such a cool mod, and I think it's a shame that I'm not gonna get into it because I shouldn't. But I think it's a shame that it gets all the flack that it does from you know who. Um, but I it was something that I was just super excited for. Like I was like, this is gonna be so cool. Like the community is gonna love this, and then it seemed like nobody was really coming out and supporting it. So we were like, all this excitement and effort we put into this for it to kind of die. Just I guess it didn't feel like a slap in the face, but it definitely felt like that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like we did all this work for nobody to really care, and people have been asking for this, and now that we're doing it, they don't want it. It's kind of like when you get your little brother an ice cream and they're upset because it's vanilla and they wanted chocolate even though they just asked for vanilla. And I was I won't say I was angry, but I was most definitely frustrated about it. It was I was not happy.
Frustrated enough
And
to do the infamous video. I mean, ah, it must not have gone quite viral enough for me to have heard about it back in that time, which is
yeah,
just sad because I in a way, in my own twisted way, salty compilations. I mean, those are real people with real feelings, but I can't help but enjoy those at least a little bit. I haven't watched them nearly as much as I used to, but I definitely had a salty compilations phase where I lived off of that stuff on YouTube.
yeah,
The compilations that people react to, whatever. But when you got past that and you realized the world will not stop for everything that you're doing, and that
hmm
putting your identity into something like running events is going to be helpful or awesome in some ways, but then when it disappoints you, you learn to realize it's not always a direct comment or slight against you. It's just
yeah,
simply like the people told you at that time. We have lives. We cannot stop what we're doing, this, that, and the third, to be able to come out
yeah,
to an event. That does sound like a real thing, because I mean, I would have gone through lessons like that just in different ways, where I had to learn, oh yeah, that's right. The world will not stop for me.
hmm
There's just times and places where I have to realize I'm still a little fish. I have not grown into the big fish. Like even with my podcast, like I always remind myself, who gets the most anonymity and the most little little view guy? That's me. I'm the most little view guy. So I love the other podcasts,
you're
by the
growing
way, for
though.
the
And
record.
yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Other podcasts are great. Yeah, I
Hmm. But I can't get
often
mad at
I'll
the other ones for existing,
yeah,
is what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah. I think you're doing great, honestly.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it. So I love that you have something like that where you can say, I came out of that for the better. It was a little ugly for a while there, but I came out of it for the better. I mean, that's really the big thing. You got to grow up as well as become a better individual just through
Yeah.
running events. I love hearing
Trying to
that.
see. I'm trying to see if I can find that video because that video was. I don't normally get that salty about things, but I was not happy that day.
You keep
I
you
don't know.
keep referencing these things that like I'm gonna want to put in the description of the video.
I mean,
This is a
I'll send it to you. It's just I have to find it, and
right, sure.
the problem is so much of the stuff is so deep in the archives that it's a little hard to find.
Well, don't worry about finding it though, because I would worry more about finding some of the other stuff that we were talking. That's like more fun.
Yeah.
The salty video. you can't find
Yeah,
it, it do be that way sometimes. Besides, I
true.
think we all get the picture anyway. And so after you see a lot of things come and go, a lot of different games kind of spike up in popularity, then they sort of decline in popularity. Melee being the game out of most of the FGC stuff that kind of just continues to stick through to hang on to. You can't get Melee out of these Melee people. Can't get them to switch to Smash 4. Can't get them to switch to Ultimate. Would you say that Melee is that game where it's impressed you the most in terms of its long-term viability, or is there another game that you thought did a really good job of sticking around?
Melee will never die.
Yes.
I for a while, I was like, I don't really get it. Like, this game is like older than some of the kids in this community. Like, why do people keep playing this? Uh, I there was a time there that we really didn't have much of a Melee community. What we did have was mostly just, people running house tournaments, running stuff, like I said, at their house. I know that we ran a couple. We tried to run some Melee events, at Synthwave. We had a couple at Nitrous Oxide. We had them at Equalizer. We definitely had them at Shadow's events. We have them, they're at Zone Breaker. They're at that they were at Super SD World Tour, all the events that we had before then. Melee was Melee is I don't want to call them anything bad because Melee is a good group of folks, but Melee is a fucking a freaking roach in an apocalyptic wasteland. Like, nothing will kill Melee. Melee literally is immortal. It will not ever die. Like, especially with the addition of Slippy, like, now
Yes.
that like net play is so much better, Melee. But if it weren't for Slippy, I think Melee would probably be on not on life support, but I think after the quarantine, Melee would have been in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah.
But with the creation of Slippy and how fantastic netcode is because of Fizzy, I think Melee's got a long life ahead of it at this point. I think people are going to be playing a 40 and 50-year-old game coming up, and before we know it, it's going to be we're going to be not so much worrying about where to get Melee. We're going to be worrying about displays to play Melee on.
Yeah, the
Because I
CRT
think,
is going to
yeah, I think
probably
we're
have to
gonna,
die officially at some point.
yeah, I think we're gonna have a CRT problem.
How have
Is
we
what's gonna
not
ultimately
reverse
happen.
engineered how to make CRTs, by the way? We will literally come up with rollback netcode before we start making our own CRTs.
I
What's
don't
up with
know.
that?
I don't know. I think manufacturers just don't like making. I'm guessing it's probably just expensive or something. I if somebody were to hand me a kit and be like, "Yo, make a CRT," I would totally be the frick down for that. Like, I would do it. Manufacturers, I think, just make flat screen TVs because it's cheaper.
Well,
But
sure, but I'm saying you could make your own controller if you wanted to. You just had to find the right places to buy sort of the more raw materials.
yeah,
Not that everybody makes their own motherboard and such and such. There's a video on YouTube by Crane who makes a lot of DIY stuff around controllers
hmm
and has firmware and all that stuff, all that fun stuff. So shout outs to Crane, but you can make your own rectangle style controller if you really want to. You don't have to wait for the big boys to release their rectangle controllers. And
true, true.
that's cool. But I thought about this recently. I was like, what's stopping us from building our own CRT? Like, what's stopping us from doing that? Because I just think to myself, it must be a certain material in there that is no longer made or really hard to access.
I
Because
think
in terms of, yeah,
it's either that, or I'm pretty sure CRTs with how they operate have to be made in like a very particular environment because it's cathode rays and a vacuum tube, and I think the vacuum tube's the hard part.
hmm. So now we're learning as we're going here with this idea that popped into my head like very recently, probably during this interview, where I'm like, Yeah, CRM making your CNT. Well, that's okay because monitors will eventually have to become the future, like you were saying. Hey, Reeves' nephew, did you see that video on Twitter that got
Oh
all those
yeah, where he
retweets?
got
Yeah.
he got this GameCube and his
My children have done the exact same thing watching the Melee intro on a CRT that I set up
yeah
out here.
yeah.
They're like, and then they want to play. And then they want to play Mario Kart Double Dash after that because they really love that game more right now. It
I
breaks
mean,
my heart
Mario
a
Kart
little
Double
bit,
Dash is
but
pretty sick, to be
Double
fair.
Dash is very sick, yes. But I obviously didn't get the whole setup out to play Double Dash. I was hoping to play, play Melee, but that's okay. They'll get it. They'll get it. And you know what? They're they're literally kids. They should be allowed to play whatever games they want to. I can't just like say Melee only.
I mean, you
I'm not
could.
going
It
to.
just
I'm
wouldn't
gonna.
be
They're
right.
gonna get to. They're gonna get to play games that they actually want to play. That I have to. I have to give that to them. That was given to me. They'll
True, true.
land on the right thing eventually. They will, or they better.
I'll get there.
Yes. And so I appreciate the confidence that you have in the Roach that is Melee, the community that is Melee. I am impressed with how I would say the community around Melee has either stayed at the same level or gotten slightly better at being decent to each other and decent to people
Yeah.
outside of the community. As you know, most of the time when it comes to FGC, when it comes to even just video games in general, I know that there's pride in the game that you play. There's pride in the region that you come from. There's pride in the country that you come from. So you can recreate rivalries and differences and build obstacles and walls to any other group of person in whatever category you want to choose that you want to. And video game players, Melee players, Smash Ultimate players, we have this ability to be able to do that pretty well sometimes. Where am I going with this? Basically, what I'm saying is that Melee, I think, has overall trended slightly positively upward despite all
Oh
the
yeah.
shenanigans from last year, all those news stories that broke out, for despite all of the 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 way that there have been things that could have gone really badly in terms of forced to be online, but then there's
Yeah,
rollback net
yeah.
code. There are so many things where through all the pandemic stuff, I thought, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure because even though this is a historically long-standing community, this is a seriously a seriously big deal. Nobody can cough and sneeze at a pandemic. So how does Melee make that work? And overall, I feel has succeeded. From your perspective, what would you describe this pandemic as, either from Melee or Smash as a whole, how it's been doing?
Uh, I would say for the pandemic, to be honest, at least from an ultimate standpoint, I I want to say it's doing well, but I just since what the Omicron or whatever the new variant's called, ever since that's kind of been looming its eerie head, a lot of people have been like, "Oh shoot, we have to go back to online soon, don't we?" And while I do think Ultimate and Melee and overall the FGC will survive, I know that the pandemic has been, the best way to say it is, killing a lot of grassroots communities. Like, not, when I say grassroots, I'm talking like, you have a tournament in somebody's, garage with like 5, 10 people that regularly attend. Like, smaller communities like that, or even venues that are just mom and pop shops that are like comic book stores.
Because all of those
Uh,
add up.
yeah, yeah. I mean, in some cases, tournaments are a building's lifeblood. Like in a lot of cases, a venue will get a lot of money off of tournaments that are running. And I mean, again, that's not even with Smash or the FGC. That's like a gaming lounge might have its bread and butter be tournaments. And if you can't have offline tournaments because of a pandemic, your store is going to die. And the problem with a store dying is that's a lost venue, and a lost venue could be lethal for a community if it can't find another one fast enough. People move on to other things because they can't really spend their time with the video game anymore because they don't want to play online. uh that the pandemic, while it doesn't really harm larger communities fatally. Any smaller community, I mean, I feel for, because there have been several communities that I've seen that have had a small thing going that bit the dust, and tournaments that I've seen that have bit the dust because they don't have a venue to run out of because the venue's either closed down or it's too expensive because, well, the pandemic and everyone's trying to make money, and I mean they can't exist if they don't have money.
Yep, money unfortunately still makes the world go around. But you
Yep.
stuck through the pandemic. I mean, it's only just now within the past month that you put out that Twit longer. So talk to me about how you pulled through. Like, what did you do to get creative when the pandemic first hit?
When the pandemic first hit, we ended up the very very last event we had, I think, was Equalizer 4, which is our big monthly event, and then we went for quite a while there. We really shut down. Like, at that point we would have been IDG. We really weren't running much in the way of events. We did have one online or not Equalizer, but Synthwave, that there was quite a bit of interest in, but the problem was just with the stress of the pandemic and all of the other stuff on everybody's plates, we really couldn't sit down and run a proper online event. I know JD did do a pretty good handful of online melee events through Slippy, and the FGC had a tournament called Dragon Punch Online that they were running to kind of keep the FGC active. As for Ultimate, I know, like I said, there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot that we were able to do. And even then, a lot of local areas like Dragon Punch was running events that were online. Shell Shocked in Michigan, Ori, I think. If not Ori, it was Aura Gaming, was doing a lot of stuff with that. I guess there kind of came a point where we were running things, and then we there was so much happening all at once that we saw all of these other events that were kind of happening around us, and we kind of went, I mean, at that point, just let them kind of do their thing, and we'll just start planning out and come back full force when we can, when the pandemic sort of subsides. It's just we didn't know when that was going to happen. And then eventually it kind of did, and then we ran Synthwave, and then had some problems. Sorry, the last Synthwave, and then we had some problems with the venue, and then ended up coming back as Nitrous Oxide, and we were doing pretty good there. Problem was we kind of had the same sort of obligations coming up. People couldn't come out, school, family, and the money kind of ran out there, and we ended up having to pull the plug on it because we kind of got to a point where we were just kind of hemorrhaging money,
And that cannot continue forever. So
unfortunately.
when it comes to writing that Twit longer, how much would you say, aside from the reasons that you gave, there's a certain mode of life where running a tournament is great. It works for you, it works for the community, but you can't do it forever. How much of it had to do with things becoming more of a rocky road, would you say had to do with you saying it's time for me to move on?
So I this year, towards the beginning of the year, I got a promotion at work, which great. I
Indeed.
make more money. Yeah, it's cooler. I make more money. I've got more responsibility, but it's just that I've got more responsibility. And the thing about the Smash community is, and the reason I kind of still want to stay on the sidelines and be involved, just maybe not in the aspect that I was, is not to toot my own horn again, but I tried to put my entire weight into the Smash community. If I wasn't worried about my job, I was worried about Smash or the FGC. And I had people both inside and outside of that community going, hey, like, that's not good for you. And I guess it went from a hobby to an obsession, and then from an obsession to what felt more like an obligation. And when something starts to feel like an obligation to me, I start to not want to do it. Not in a sense of like, oh, like this sucks. Like I don't want to provide a space for these people anymore. Like screw this. It became more of like a, dude, I'm having to choose paying venue fee or eating this week. And if I can't eat, I will not
Yeah.
be around to run things. And so there kind of came a point where people were like, look, dude, you got to step back. Like, you got to you have to start prioritizing differently because I've always had a really bad habit of putting the community over myself, and people are like, that's not healthy, that's not good for you. You're like vomiting money into this. Like you need to take a step back and start worrying about yourself more than the community because the community can go on for a bit without you. Like you need to take a step back and reevaluate things. And I think that's after like the seventh or eighth time I was told that in the last 3 months. uh I was like, yeah, like I have like $40 in my bank account and I have to pay venue fee this week. And the fact that we were not really making enough to get by was like we with every event we were running we were losing probably like 80 to $100, and you can only get away with that for so long before again I'm sitting there and I'm like, groceries or venue fee, groceries or venue fee. And that's kind of where I was like, all right, this is getting to be too much. Like I have to step back. I have to listen to what people around me are saying, and I got to step back and like take a break for a bit because it's also that sort of thing where I was obsessing over it, and Smash, while it's been part of my life for almost a quarter of my life, won't be there. It's not something that I will probably be part of until I die. Is kind of the best way to say it. I want to be here for as long as I can be, and I want to get back involved, re-involved with the community when I can. But it's not going to be. I'm not going to be 90 years old running events. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yes, of course. And the context has to be different because it's not fair to ask anybody to redline through their entire life living like what's George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. You're
Yeah.
sort of the George Bailey of Northwestern Ohio, dewstr. You're just sacrificing so much to try to make things work and try to have the environment that you want to have happen so badly. And I know what you mean about the obligation stuff where you don't get a feeling that feels rewarding about doing an activity anymore. Activity just becomes a chore and an obligation, or
Yeah.
in your
Exactly.
case, an expensive, really expensive obligation. And there's just not enough room on your sphere of influence to be able to handle that and also take care of yourself.
Mm.
Those all sound like good things that you've said. I would like to not have that be the way that I interact with Smash in the future. I have done that mode of life for long enough, and when I stand up from the sidelines and kind of walk into the arena a little bit again in the future, it's going to need to look different. And I think that's very fair to ask of you and for you to put that expectation on yourself. I'm not going to always say to myself, should I buy groceries or should I pay for the venue fee and run another tournament this week? Yeah, to not do that again. Very fair. You are
Yeah.
like you're asking just to continue to exist. I feel like most of the time for a person, asking for a little bit more is always something that everybody at least deserves to have a shot at. So with the promotion and everything that you got from work, from the fact that you have taken, like, it's been at least a month, do you feel like a weight came off your shoulders, or what does it feel like now that you've been taking your very young but ongoing hiatus away from running events?
It to start, it kind of felt like a void because again, I mean, the last 5 years of my life have been work and Smash and really nothing else.
Right?
As time has gone on, I've more just I'm not gonna say distracted myself, but as I was in the community, I obviously went to events and I got to be pretty good friends with at least a few of the vendors. Uh, I am really good with Justin Wharton. Him and I hang out a lot, and him and I have been tossing around the idea of maybe making stickers for uh, some of his artwork. I picked up a Cricut little like machine cutter Now, this isn't saying that's going to be a thing. This is just something that I've been kicking around to him. More me kicking it to him and him going, "Yeah, we'll get to it."
Also, custom
Uh,
masks. You're making JD excited as he hears this part of it.
Custom masks. Yeah, I have like I said, I have a little cricket machine. I picked that interest up off of the Spiff brothers, Alex and Oz. I love Spiff. I have one, two, three. My keys aren't in my pocket. At least, oh, there they are. Four, five different bits of Spiff merch on me at any given time,
Dadgum.
and Spiff kind of showed me how cool it was to create your own merch, and I have learned how to. Now, of course, I don't have any custom junk on me right now, but I've learned how to cut things into vinyl and iron them onto cloth, and basically make my own custom stuff, which I'm all about doing because I've done controller mods and I've done LED mods for controllers, and I love when something is uniquely yours and there's nothing else like it in the world. And something like a mask is really, really easy to do, and it's super easy to customize because with something like this, you can put whatever you want on it, and that's just really cool. Um, that's kind of been the forefront. Besides that, I've kind of got I've attempted to get back into the exercise and self care routine, but I have also come to the ultimatum that I will get back on that on the 1st of January, and right now I can eat as many sugar cookies as I want. Uh, Besides that, I mean, yeah, my big focus has been creating custom stuff, like working on masks. I'd like to make some shirts. I'm just trying to think of ideas of stuff to make. I'm a huge Cowboy Bebop nerd. I love Cowboy Bebop, so I've kind of been just making Cowboy Bebop stuff at the moment. But I kind of want to get into making more Smash centric or FGC centric stuff because obviously that's where my heart is. I just don't know what to make yet. I'm definitely gonna make like proud O2er masks probably and stuff like that. I also have a 3D printer. I've been messing with that a little bit too, but yeah, just a lot of custom DIY stuff has just been
That you
taking my time up
finally have
since.
time for, and you can
Yeah,
buy
yeah,
something to make it better. You can actually
yeah,
afford that.
yep. I wish I had a mask on me or something, but of course, I don't have anything on me just now. I have some stuff in my bag, which I guess if I do the old reach past my laptop really quick and grab my bag, I could probably dig something out of there. But let me see. Yeah, so this is the mask that I've been wearing the most often, but I made this a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's very nice. You made that yourself. It's uniquely
Yes,
yours.
exactly. And one that I made for my dad just a couple weeks ago, so it shouldn't take me 3 hours to find this picture, is this one. My dad's a huge Star Trek nerd.
Yeah, that you got a lot of sun points. Oh my child, you have blessed me with something that I can wear literally every single day. This is awesome.
Yeah. So uh, I'd have a lot of fun doing it because again, like you said, and like I said, it's something that's uniquely yours. There's no other thing like it, and so I've kind of been trying to come up with ideas for stuff to make because I want to sell it because I think it would be cool
What's the
to
website? What's
have.
the website, Dewster? What's the
I don't
website?
have I don't have it yet. I don't have
Ooh,
it yet.
this is the origin story. When people interview you about your awesome merch about 2 or 3 years from now, they will come back to this interview for research.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
better, anyway. You
I
better
yeah,
to
yeah.
those people.
Be sure to give credit.
Oh,
Gotta give credit
actually,
to
that'd
Cypher.
be nice. That would be nice. I gave credit to JD for giving me some questions to ask you. We talked about JD like a quarter of this interview. So there you
Yeah,
go, JD.
JD's blessed. JD, if you're watching this, I love you, and you've heard me say that to you a million times because I can't tell you how often or how lucky I can't. This scene is so blessed to have JD because this scene would not be where it is without JD. JD is godlike. But yeah, I mean, I just want to make custom stuff. I just want to sell my own stuff. I think it's fun. I think it's cool. It's a fun hobby. It kind of, I guess it's still, it's kind of my way to keep tabs in the community or keep my finger in the community if I'm not running anything. I've kind of tossed the idea around of maybe having my own booth at a major once, CEO is one thing, but once it's not, once it's safe to go out to events again, because
Safer.
CEO
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
Riptide were like,
And
yeah,
not in
yeah, like things
Florida.
are cool. Yeah, yeah.
That too.
CEO was fun. I didn't get COVID at CEO, but
Oh, okay, good, good, good. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. But when it kind of gets to the point that it's safe to go to stuff again and maybe sell stuff, I think that's gonna be my next venture into the scene. But it's again sort of my way to stay connected without being a TO.
Awesome. So, did you pick a successor for your TOing role, or did you say, you know what, somebody will step up? Because half the time TOs talk to me, they say I stepped up because somebody else was leaving, and so I filled the void. There's not always a dewstr. You will now run events until 2021, and then you will pick somebody. Damn it.
So I didn't really pick somebody to take my spot per se, just because as long as there has been Smash in the community, save a very long summer, and the other long summer that we had the pandemic, there has been some kind of a tournament. Whether it was mine or again Shy Dude runs his own. At this point, the new event, the main event of the region is Zone Breaker, and there's also an event that happens down in Bowling Green called Bowling Green Battlegrounds, or BGBG for short. That should be picking up pretty soon. It sounds like, I guess if I had to say that I passed my crown down to somebody, I'd probably say she's been running events for a while now, or her own events down in BG. But I guess I sort of passed like half of a mantle down to, God. Her tag is frogs in Japanese. Uh, Kaeru. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Lexi, but it's Kaeru, Kaeru. Um, she has been running events in BG for probably a couple years, but yeah, I would say she'd probably be half the mantle, and then the other half of the mantle is probably to JD. He has ran his own events and he's got plenty of experience in it. I don't know if he'll really do much with Ultimate or if he'll really start his own tournament at this rate, since he obviously has all the stuff with Panda that's going on, and he has again always been more of a production guy. He loves doing production, not so much the TO stuff.
Yeah,
So
seeding, calling
I,
matches.
I would yeah. I would say probably more Lexi than anybody else would sort of be my successor.
Shout
But
outs.
they're yeah. Uh, Lexi loves frogs on Twitter. Um, yeah, she she'd probably be my successor, but there is still the bi-weekly that happens in Toledo called Zone Breaker that happens at Lord's University every other Friday. As for BGBG, they're starting up on in January. I believe they're kind of taking over Sundays, but I don't know too much about that outside of that.
Sure, that's fine. Look, this is not a quiz. You can answer these questions however you want to. Although,
I'm just telling you everything I know.
yes, if I had to give you an arbitrary podcast grade, it would be an A, Dewster. It would be an A. One more question for you because I didn't want to forget it. Your favorite rivalry. What do you think of when you think of rivalries in Melee, either in your area or if you can't think of one that you want to talk about, you can expand.
I can't really think of one regionally per se, at least not one as of super duper recent. Again, to be fair, I've kind of been out of the game for a little while. I think if I had to say regionally, hmm, I can't really think of one regional, but if I had to kind of expand out to more of a broader sense of like, I would say statewide, Ohio versus Michigan, because not in the sense of like, Ohio State University versus like Michigan or anything, University of Michigan. But I think it's really, really funny that I will go into a public building wearing a worn out Big House tournament T-shirt, and everyone will go, "Oh, you like Michigan?" And I'm like, "No, I don't watch football. I don't know a thing about what you're talking about." Uh, but also there are Michigan players that have came up to me and been like, "Yo, like, okay, I guess I'll name drop. Zanotto, love that guy to death. Number one Michigan Smash Ultimate player. Uh, Please strive." And at some points or another, a group of us went up to Michigan for a Hotline Ann Arbor, which was, I think, also a Sunday event at the time. I think it's Fridays now. They had a small Street Fighter bracket. At the time, Zanotto was like hot stuff. Like Zanotto was like top dog. And here comes this random Eno player in the form of Zigno. Whoops, Zanotto. And Zanotto came up. Well, okay. Zanotto and I saw each other at the airport on the way to CEO. We recognized each other, and we started hanging out and BSing. And he was like, "Yeah, one of your Ohio players just came up one day to like an Ann Arbor tournament and like beat the crap out of me in Strive." And I'm like, "Oh." And I kind of get a smile on my face as I like realize what tournament he's talking about and what player he's talking about. And I'm like, "By any chance, was that kid's name Zigno?" And he goes, "Yeah, Zigno. Yeah, he I went home and I like labbed the hell out of that matchup." And I'm like, "Yeah, Zigno's a Northwest Ohio player." So I told Zigno, and he had a really big head about that, which he earned. He earned. Zigno's a really good kid, and he earned that. But I think that's, if I had to, I thought of something for local. If I had to think of my favorite local rivalry, it's not really a rivalry so much anymore because one of them has kind of fizzled out of the scene, and they do more than Ninjala. It's Mama Shredder. They do more than Ninjala than anything else. But I would say that Shredder and Money the God, Easy Money before, but Money the God now, kind of have like a weird little rivalry that we all used to be roommates, and they had like this weird little like
They were roommates.
banter back. Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh
couldn't
my
help
god. Where are my sunglasses? Oh my god, they were roommates.
Roommates.
They had this little just dumb banter that they would just. There's here I go with my phone again trying to find a picture. There's a picture of, we call it Money Pog, where money's literally pogging. And Gur is just kind of sitting there because Gur, up to this point, Gur had been considered the better player, and Money got some like, I think like Game and Watch 9 down B on or yeah, down, I think it was down B. I don't remember. But whatever the move is, I don't play Game and Watch. Whatever the move is that Game and Watch gets like magnitude 9 sometimes.
You're talking about Judge. He throws out a number,
Yes.
and it's randomly 9 sometimes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think Money hit that and won the set, if I remember correctly. And everyone popped off and Money popped off. It was really funny. But I think that's my favorite local rivalry is Money and Shredder.
So as we start to wrap up here, what would be something that you look forward to in 2022 in terms of saying, hey, I want to go here to sell my merch, or if it's I want to go here and experience this tournament? Even if you have to say the Big House 10. I mean, I'm sure Juggle Guy wouldn't be mad if you said that. Not at all. Friend of the program, by the way. The point is, what are you looking forward to when it comes to Smash in 2022?
I think just in general, the next event that I'm really excited for, and I'm hoping, COVID figures itself out before it comes to it, but I'm really looking forward to Combo Breaker. I've been wanting to go to Combo Breaker for the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, it's gotten absolutely screwed out because of COVID. It's something that's been very, very hyped up to me, and I'm excited to check it out. Problem is, like I said, every single time I've had the chance to go, I haven't been able to because the event got canceled. Besides that, I mean, I already went. I guess this wouldn't really be 2022, but CEO 2021 was pretty sick. It was mostly sick because I got to see all my friends again. Um, yeah, I would say probably Combo Breaker is the one thing I'm most excited for.
Sorry, Chocolate Guy, but you can suck it, I guess.
No, Big House, I'm also excited for. It's just not the next thing.
I couldn't
I
help
mean,
it. That's just the Michigan
like
thing. I'm just feeding into it. I'm being a little toxic. Sorry.
like
Sorry,
I
sorry.
said, I've no, I've got two worn out Big House T-shirts, and I'm pretty sure in my collection I've only got one Big House badge up there, but I know I've got at least a couple more. And
I
I've
really
also
want to
got.
go to one. I'm gonna
Have you not
try
been to
very
one?
hard to get to the new one in
You
2022.
should. You should. Big House is always a great time. It's always worth it. And I think my favorite Big House was when they had Smash Ultimate because I remember everyone just kind of crowding around the Big House. You can see my cat is like bumping my laptop monitor. Uh, was when they had Ultimate and we got to like get our first look at the game because I don't think. Okay, that's a lie. I've definitely seen the community that excited since then and before then, but I don't think I've ever seen the community so like excited together to see this brand new game that is going to define the future of Smash.
And do you think there's going to be another Smash? Because I kind of tend to lean no. It's going to look different if there is one.
I think Sakurai has worked more than his fair share, and I'm not going to say that I hope he doesn't make another Smash, but I hope he gets the break he deserves because that dude has worked his fingers to the bone and deserves like a paid vacation for the rest of his life. Like
He could
for how much
afford
money?
to do a paid vacation. Like,
Yeah,
he could pay his own
yeah.
vacation for the rest of his life if I had
Like
to guess. But
that dude needs a break like I need to breathe. Like that.
also defines himself through just continuing to move like a madman.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no. I would love for there to be another not another Ultimate, but another Smash game because
Yeah,
I
I was
love
gonna say
Smash.
that input
But
delay is kind of rough for me.
I
I'm sorry,
yeah,
but it's just
yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's if you got to switch between games constantly, yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd love for there to be a new game. I don't think there's gonna be one. I really don't. But here's hoping, because I mean, I guess new isn't always better, but new is exciting, and a lot of the times new can reinvigorate a community that may be a bit stagnant. So
I guess the next Nintendo system, as long as it has an Ethernet port, there's always hope. No, I'm sorry. It just needs to be slightly better online. It needs to be. I know that's one of the biggest things Ultimate has suffered for in the pandemic is that playing
oh,
online
100%.
events is really challenging.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even the ones that are really cool, like the Moist Critical events that happened
Hmm.
towards the beginning of the pandemic, and like getting all these Ultimate players to come out. Well, come out. I'm saying in quotation marks. Entering the online brackets and stuff. But then those Twitter posts afterwards were legendary
Oh
because they're
yeah.
like, "This online is not great.
I
I don't feel
mean,
good about my match. I should
I've
have
even
won it."
been seeing I've been seeing that stuff even like now with the looming threat of going back to Wi-Fi or like the really funny Smash.gg moderator message logs where it's like somebody's like, "Oh, I'm playing on LAN and this person's not," and the other person's like, "Oh, I'm definitely playing on LAN. Let me take a
I'm
picture."
wired. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
wired.
totally wired. Let me take a picture and show you. And then one person actually does, and the other person like takes a really blurry picture of their TV screen, and then like,
Somebody's finger covered
yeah,
the Wi-Fi
yeah,
symbol.
and like 3 or 4 messages later, the guy's finally like, okay, I'm playing on like Walmart connection. I'm literally playing the Walmart demo right now, and then they get like DQ'd. I think that stuff's really funny. Or the why do bad things happen to good people tournament. I
Oh,
think
that was fun. Yeah, that was so cool.
that I guess that wasn't a proper Smash tournament, but I thought that was really funny. I liked
It
that a
was
lot.
kind of like your randomizer
But
bracket, but like
yeah,
anything goes. So you got multiple brackets inside the bracket. You got multiple games inside the game. It
you
was
got you
crazy.
got people playing rock paper scissors and flipping a
You got
coin,
Twitch
and
streamers paying off people literal bribes. This is the only
Hungry
time.
buck.
This is the only. Yeah, exactly. This is the only
People
time
just
that doing bribes is actually kind of cool. It's kind of pog. Yeah, I'll pay somebody. Yeah.
people just going, "Oh, you lose, I win," and then other people just going, "All right, that's fair." Like, like no rules, like chaotic good, chaotic evil, like
Wobblers.
just a chaotic tournament. Yeah, wobblers,
Wobblers in
like
the chat. Yeah.
people that are just flipping a coin, playing rock paper scissors, actually playing a match, playing a game of Mario Party, like playing a 5-round Mario Party to see who wins. Like going outside and actually fist fighting. Don't do that. Like stuff like that. Um, I don't think we'll ever see anything. I okay. I want to see something like that again because I think that entire idea as a tournament is a really really cool idea.
But it can't be every
But
week.
exactly, and I think um going back into online, I'm not gonna say it's gonna kill anything because realistically it probably won't. If anything, it'll probably stunt the growth of the community.
Right. Yeah.
And
There's only, again, Smash played in person is a very different experience from online. Even if the game can play the same, in the case of Melee, it can play very similarly to Land Melee and Slippy Melee, but you're not next to the person. There's no venue.
it'll never be the same as
hype.
offline.
The hype is, it's just different. It's so
You don't
different.
have the crowd screaming behind you. You don't have the smell of gamer. You don't have.
I don't miss that, but
Yeah,
I know
true,
what you're
true.
saying.
You don't. It's not the same feeling. It's just if you being by yourself in front of a computer monitor playing Melee or Ultimate or really any fighting game is going to be a hell of a lot different than sitting in a room with 2,000 people screaming your name behind you as you know, down throw, up air, fucking just spike somebody off stage and like hearing the fucking crowd behind you absolutely fucking erupt. Sorry, I keep swearing and I'm not supposed to.
What are you talking about? You're allowed to swear. Who told you you're not allowed to swear?
The
Who told you
recording
this?
procedure where they were like, I'm not a big. Okay, I guess you're just not a big cussing person. That's all. But
Yes, I said I'm not a big cursing person, but you're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want.
the excitement and the hype of that, I think, obviously can't be replicated on online. Even in a Twitch chat, as hype as a Twitch chat will get, um, you can't capture that when you're by yourself in a dark room playing Melee like a degenerate.
You know what Twitch
you
chat?
only...
You know what Twitch chat is like? It's got a moderately kind of high ceiling for hype, but the floor is like dungeon basement level floor. It can be so bad, and it would never be that bad in person, but it is so bad.
It's because you can't be confronted for your actions.
Indeed.
Not in the same way as like somebody could walk up to you in real life.
Like Reeve could walk up to all these people who were clowning on him. Like he posted a picture of his abs,
of his absolute swole, like chiseled body. I was just I'm not the one not going outside.
Like on my phone, I'm just like that is a man and a half right there.
Yeah, he is a god, is what he is.
A shining example of what we can achieve, but what I feel so far away from.
So true, bestie.
I felt so bad afterwards. I'm like, how does somebody look like that and also play lots of video games?
I have to go to the gym and lab my workouts, clearly. I saw that at work and I'm like, damn, why don't I look like that? Like,
but at least we know why. There's a certain amount of effort and you get that result. It's like playing the video game itself. If it's Ultimate or Melee or any FGC thing that we've been talking about tonight, you just play a lot and all of a sudden you're really good. And people just go, wow, you're so talented. And they just forget that you've been spending hundreds of hours getting good. Putting in the time and effort makes it work.
The sugar cookie consumption probably isn't helping either.
But they're really good, though.
True.
So we've been talking for so long, and you're just too good to talk to. You're too good. You've mastered the talking game. I want to, first of all, thank you so much for being on here with me.
Thank you for having me.
I like to say that shooting for an hour is a good meter, because if I shot for 2 hours, like, then we'd be talking for 3 hours. So realistically speaking, I need to make this as close to a consumable podcast as possible, because I think the 3 hour ones are challenging. I don't know how many
Yeah.
podcasts you listen to, but my own philosophy is, you know, get to an hour and then kind of feel it out and start to wind down. And we have
Hmm.
been. So the last thing we need to do before we're officially done recording and before we do a thumbnail picture is, what would you like to tell the people in terms of how to find you, where to go, shout outs you would like to make, all that fun stuff?
Um, well, I'm very active on Twitter. I don't shut up on Twitter. I am very. I'm not gonna say I'm very gay, but I'm very gay on Twitter. Um, I post stream of consciousness, and it's gonna be the easiest way to get a hold of me. Twitter.com/@ the dewstr. It's DEWSTR, not ER. Everyone gets the ER. It's not
Including me
ER.
before you corrected me. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. Everybody mixes it up at first. Um, but I'm twitter.com/the dewstr. Uh, or I'm on Discord if you ever wanted to hit me up. Mountain Dew, MTNDEW 5919. Shout outs to the gang, my home team. Uh, Obviously everybody that I've mentioned, anybody that's from the region. To list off a couple names off the top of my head, the ones that have been there through it all: Punchy, JD, Lion. Uh, JD is going to be, I think his Twitter handle is what, JDMH underscore.
Yes, that is correct.
JDMH underscore. That dude's talented. Like that dude's talented. That dude's goated beyond belief. Punchy is Punchy 2K. That dude's been with me through literally everything, and I'm living with him now, and he's that person that I wouldn't have met had I not joined the scene, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Let me pull up my Discord of goons that I know all of their names, but I won't be able to think of their Twitter
Well,
handles
you
until I
know
can
who
actually see
you
their names.
are. Not everybody gets to be Punchy, okay? Does everybody
True,
live
true.
with the Dewster? No. The Dewster lives with Punchy. So you are all special in your own way, but you have to remember, it's not always about you. You can't be in like that close to the nebulous of the Dewster. So just, this is something to work on. It gives you something to work on. Let this inspire you. The next time that Deucer comes on to the bottom of Smash Mountain, you'll get a shout out because he remembers you off the top of their head.
I know. It's not that I don't know everybody off the top of my head. It's just that I'm awful with Twitter handles.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
my main FGC man, Mr. Mistopheles, love that guy. He loves the FGC with all of his heart. He plays Street Fighter and Strive, and he loves FGC like it's his second job. Like that dude's got passion like nobody would believe. Uh, STB, online criminal. That dude is my dad. I love that guy. He's my dad. He's a dad to a Whalmer. I think he got like a Marshtomp, or I think it's Marshtomp. Is that what's the final evolution of Mudkip?
I am not a Pokemon person. I know Pikachu's
Whatever
a
that,
Pokemon person.
whatever Pokemon that is, he has a plush of that. And then he used to be Buy Me a Lamp. He's Cole these days. Cole is so based. He's uh, in his words, he's very submissive and breedable. Don't tell him I said that. At Left in Car, love that guy. And yeah, really anybody from the hometown, Northwest Ohio, you guys are all dope. Wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't have gotten this far had it not been for everybody's support. And I'm eternally grateful to be to have been blessed with the opportunity to be able to run events and do the things that I got to do for the region as long as I did. And again, hopefully this isn't the end. Fingers crossed that I make my grand return someday. Um, but until then, definitely keep an eye out on any Twitters. Definitely keep an eye out
Merch.
on
Merch.
keep an eye out on me for my merch.
Mm.
Whenever I finally start making my cool masks
Mm.
for Smash and stuff,
Let's
because
go.
I'll get to that.
One more time,
Uh,
dewstr. Sorry, no, you were still going. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's all good. I was gonna say the only other person that I could really say to keep an eye out on is Lexi loves frogs, because with any kind of luck, Lexi will be potentially looking into her own tournaments and doing BG stuff in the near future. Other than
Woohoo!
that, though, yeah, it's been sick. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to talk, and feel free to have me back on any other time.
Oh, dewstr, there's always open invites to people who are willing to talk with me about stuff. So that is sent to you as well. And Jill's welcome back on as well.
I don't know where she went.
No, that's okay.
Jack's here somewhere too, but
That's okay. Don't worry. She doesn't have to come back in right this second. But dewstr, thank you so much for joining me on Bottom of Smash Mountain.
thank you for having me. It's been fun.